coordinator ever, and welcome to Play and Talk for tonight's Play and Talk, episode 21. And if we're measuring this by years, it would be old enough to drink. No, we're not, and this is Shadowhawk.
Hello.
Yeah.
Definitely things happen though.
Yeah, you remember the time where we got really devastated about the Kotaku's article about Byra and stuff?
Yeah, I know.
It's probably just a bit of devastating. We're gonna tell you plainly. Disney and Sony got into a bit of a scuffle over Spidey, over basically what amounts to money. Like, who gets to share the money?
Yeah, from that, I mean, a lot of people have been saying they hate Sony, but truth be told, I felt Disney was more in the wrong when reading just what their deal was. I mean, Disney, at least as I understand it, owns 100% of merchandising rights to Spider-Man, so anything that involves movies, involves merchandising, shirts, toys, etc., Disney already gets.
On the other hand,
access
on the other hand, I would not trust Sony alone with Spider-Man. You remember the last time when they handled Spider-Man in a live-action movie?
I mean, it was that, but keep in mind, we did get Spider-Verse, and they're making more movies on Spider-Verse as well. So I still wouldn't trust Sony Pictures specifically because some of their movies tend to be a little lackluster. I'm not gonna hold out in much faith. You don't even like Venom, so I don't like that either. But truth be told, again, it's always on who's actually making it. The company that is involved with it kind of doesn't matter. It's more of a who actually is in the process of making it. I'm just more worried that the DCU is pretty much in the best version of that. They had Zack Snyder on. He wasn't really a good fit with it when they actually went to other people, such as Patty Jenkins, and they've managed to crank out very solid stuff otherwise.
Yeah. I just want to point out that I would prefer if Spider-Man stays in the MCU regardless, because he has some plot themes and plot points that needs to be resolved. It's what I need, not what I want, as I quote in the tweet. As I said in the tweet.
Yeah, it's just because from No Doubt, since they wanted to throw that in, because it was meant to be no doubt a big thing in Phase 4, so it was no doubt that they
Spidey won't be in Phase 4, actually. Spidey won't be in Phase 4, neither is another other Guardians of the Galaxy. I just want to correct that.
Nah, I'm pretty sure that they'll have him in later because as these things go, there's no
way. The talks are still ongoing from what I've heard.
Spidey didn't even really have, at least within the current one of Phase 4, he didn't really already have any movies lined out from that, though, since we already saw at Comic-Con what their original lineup was.
That's what I just said.
It was.
Sorry.
So for that, I'm pretty sure in the meantime, they'll be hashing out other deals, though, and trying to see what's there, though, because it's too profitable to really go and get rid of it, though. But it's just that, yeah, in that case, Disney was definitely trying to ask for way more than they really did. So
I disagree.
That Sony really wouldn't have
I kind of disagree because I honestly, again, do not trust Sony alone with any of the live-action version of Spidey. Or pretty much.
Even if it was for that, though, it's kind of for me less of that, though. Like, sure, as far as would it be good or not, again, it would have to depend on who's actually there as far as who's going to own it, though. I mean, who's actually working on it is ultimately what matters more than the company that makes it,
I just want Spidey to basically stay in the MCU, like everybody else.
I do want that, though, but at the same time, I can't really treat Sony as the villain when essentially between not even really having the merchandising rights and also being requested to cough up 50% of any given Spider-Man earnings, it would mean effectively their most valuable IP, since Spider-Man is no doubt the biggest one they own. And it would effectively mean that even the most profitable Spider-Man movie that they have, like if it was under those terms, would end up turning out as about as much money as any of their lesser IPs. And so from that, it was just a big, nobody could really accept those terms. So I can't really blame them.
Actually, the more specific terms actually also point out that Disney will share the burden of paying for and making the movie.
Hey amigos,
But even with those burdens, though, it would mean that Sony is still doing a good deal of the legwork. So even if Marvel, like, let's just say that a Spider-Man movie costs about $250 to both make and market, and say that even if they're doing as much as half the legwork, that still means that they're still putting up 125 million, and even from that, they're still ending up losing way more than they could reasonably afford to make.
Give me a second.
Again,
yeah. Oh wait.
it's
Give me,
not one of the
could you give me a
biggest,
second? I need to.
so
I forgot. I was.
Spider-Man is
I was
the
installing some.
biggest one.
I forgot I was installing some games. Sorry about that. Need to check.
No,
need to,
you're good.
Yeah. Need to. Could you cover me while I try to pause these installations? Kind of embarrassing, and
I don't know where you are, or did I?
I got
there it is.
dude.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll try to keep you covered for.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I'm good. I'm good. Okay. I'm good.
So I was on a 30-second counter.
So that's what I think.
Oh
though.
wait.
This
What
is
just
definitely
happened?
not a
Where's?
case
Okay.
of-
Where's our buddy?
It's still fucking bugged.
I revived him.
Dude, take my shit. I'm leaving. It's retarded.
So yeah, that's why I said for it is that
Take
I
all my
couldn't
stuff,
really,
dude. Leaving.
All right. I guess that guy is rage quitting.
Irritating.
Just yet. I'm gonna have to. I really can't really trust Sony overall. I'm sorry, I really can't.
I mean, that's fine with it. I mean, I'm not exactly acting as in like, oh yeah, I think that they're just gonna make great stuff, because aside from their animation department, though, Sony hasn't really produced that much in the way of like really amazing movies, though. But
yeah, like look at
though, I mean, it's just that from Disney's terms, because keep in mind, it's not even just Marvel. Disney is pretty much making $1 billion off of a lot of their stuff. The Disney remakes, aside from Dumbo, have been super lucrative. Star Wars Episode 9 is easily going to gross at least $1 billion, if not still way more than that. And God knows how much will be made in their later movies when those get pumped up in 2022. Like, Disney has so many avenues of revenue, whereas for Sony, Spider-Man is their best bet. So for it, even if I don't really think that have much hope for their live-action ones, it for me is more of a morality thing rather than something that I would want, though. Of course, though, I would want to finish the Spider-Man story that's there, but again,
yeah, I'd rather have like a. Honestly, I'd just rather have Spidey stay in the MCU regardless, and I just only hope that the talks would improve from there, because most likely.
So I'm sure that they'll still rehash many things, because nothing's ever set in stone. And
thank God for that, because people are acting like Spidey's gonna leave the is like 100% set in stone, gonna leave the MCU.
Nothing in the movie industry is ever set in stone, though. I
Good
mean,
point.
it is always hashed out. I mean, look at Disney. Look at actually not Disney's. I meant to say, look at DC's movie track record, especially when it came to as like the concept of Batman versus Superman. That was a concept that was trying to be worked on even as far back as the 90s. And they have constantly been trying to redraft that. Same for Justice League, actually.
Yeah,
originally
George Miller.
Reynolds,
George
that was the very first. That was supposed to be the startup of their original DCEU, but because of the huge backfire that Green Lantern had, it had to be scrapped and then redone. Obviously, before that, they even had a Justice League movie that was even fully scripted
by the guy who did Mad Max. Is that right? I remember that.
I'm not sure if it was him. I just know it was being worked on. I just don't know who was involved with it. Yeah. But I do know that even a Justice League movie was actually even being made, though. But that because of apparently changes in Australia's tax credit laws, it ended up really hampering the movie, so they had to redo it again. And Superman has been the same thing. He's had so many attempts, though. Yeah, after Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, there were so many drafts of trying to make a new one, though. One of them involving a movie called Superman Reborn, another which was where Nicolas Cage played the titular character, and it actually was so bad that actually Kevin Smith ended up just talking about how bad it almost was. So, and that was one of the scrapped ones.
Superman Reborn.
There, and it kept.
Wait, Superman Reborn, the one that J.J. Abrams tried his hand at.
I think it was. No, I think JJ was originally going to try his hand at the movie that we now know as Superman Returns, but that ended up going to Bryan Singer, and it didn't really do it for people, and it was so lackluster at the box office, it didn't get a sequel. So it was basically that, and also there were some legal battles with the legal descendants of the Schuster family, either the Siegel or Schuster, I can't remember which of those, but I know it was one of their descendants, where they managed to be able to keep the rights to the Superman character to make movies on, so good on Warner Brothers, but it turned out that there was apparently some like dispute, which is that they could be sued for lost revenue if they didn't have a new movie going in by I think was 2011, but don't quote me on that. So based on all of that, that's where they ended up making Man of Steel, because that was the option they had. They did that, but then getting it produced by the man who already saved Batman for them, Christopher Nolan, and getting the action director of Zack Snyder, because of his huge success with movies like Watchmen, as well as also Sucker Punch. So it was like, okay, we're going to make a movie with that. And then it ended up being largely mixed, because a lot of people felt like they hated the ending, as well as also being way more violent.
I'm a bit mixed on like Man of Steel as well. I like some parts, like in spite of how bleak it can all be. There's still a bit of hope. I don't like.
It was ironically the different one where a lot of people complained that Superman Returns didn't have enough action. People were complaining that Man of Steel was way too violent for the sort of movie that they were expecting. It sort of feels like exactly the sort of thing, because I feel like at times it feels like it's
just one from one extreme to another.
Well, you complained that this movie didn't have enough of it, because it was like, I even saw some of the action in Superman Returns, like barring just having straight gore and blood, just gore being everywhere. It kind of just ended up just being very close to just having like pretty much all of that. Again, just the only difference was that there wasn't like blood and guts everywhere, but it was like hyper violent even for the sort of movie that was there. I mean, it could have even potentially gotten R though, and obviously that ending where he just straight up I'm saying like it could have, from the violence that was in the movie, I mean, if they even pushed it just a little bit farther, it could have easily found itself having an R rating. So
wait, Man of Steel again an R rating? Did I hear that right?
No, it didn't actually get one, but I'm saying like the action that was in the movie, like if Zack Snyder pushed it a little bit farther in his sensibilities, it could have easily just gone into the R rating if he had pushed it even just a little bit farther.
Oh, okay.
So from that, I would say as far as all those things. So then with that sort of thing, they had to end up trying to figure out what exactly to do. And again, that's how come they finally managed to have an actionable plan for Batman v Superman, because it was just like, all right, so you couldn't just throw Justice League already, even though they actually could, because most people, even before the movie, were already fully aware of who they are. And the biggest benefit that DC had over Marvel was that its characters were instantly iconic, whereas the Marvel characters were pretty iffy as far as popularity for any of them.
Beyond Spider-Man and X-Men. Beyond Spider-Man and
X-Men were pretty much the only big ones that Marvel had, whereas and also Captain America as well.
Captain America?
Like Iron Man was pretty. Captain America was still pretty big, though. He was still a very huge hitter for Marvel. But a lot of them, like, say, Iron Man, Thor, as well as even the Hulk in spots, really it was that they were pretty iffy as far as their returns went. I mean, really, for the Hulk, the biggest thing he ever had as far as external media went, as far as, like, when it came to Solo, was that television series that CBS had, I think it was, like, in the 80s, with Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. That was pretty much the most successful media project of the Hulk that was not tied to any of the Avengers or other stuff that he really had. Ang Lee's Hulk film was pretty iffy as
I tried watching parts of the 2003 version of the Hulk. I ended up laughing my ass off because it tried too hard, and it's just like tried too hard to be serious for one, and some of the stylistic choices seemed really weird.
I honestly found it to be easily one of the better ones of it, though, especially of the early 2000s one. I mean, really, because I would say, for one, it's actually was better for me to actually not have Hulk be a very big part of it, but more of Bruce's angle. And really, the struggle with the anger for it is for that, because as someone who frequently has it, because if you met me, you wouldn't even know that I'm constantly bottled with anger, it can, for me, be manifested to why it's there, though, to where it's highly destructive.
We might want to make a move, because it might stop on us, and we don't want that.
So it would. Oh, I actually didn't even know about this one. I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, for that one, it was easily for me one of the better ones of it, and definitely seeing how Ang Lee's. When I saw Dan Olsen's strike, because he actually managed to meet the filmmaker and ask him questions for it.
Oh, he did. That's interesting.
Though. Yeah, he met him when it was for a filmmaking Q&A, though. I think for a class that he was a part of, where Ang Lee sat with a whole bunch of comic books because the Hulk was so different from his upbringing, and so said like how all the panels and even from how he made Bruce and for all that was because that, as he put it, that his anger was essentially the assertion that he's an actual person, that he is so fragmented with it, and when he turns that, he effectively becomes the person, or at least his ascension to an actual person, and especially with Nick Nolte's thing, and as he said from that, love how slimy he has, where even when he's trying to feign this whole caring fatherhood, he still can't see anything other than the thing he possesses. So for me, I really love the movie, and just in general how it just managed to actually make how Bruce ended up being portrayed though for that. And Eric Bana from that. I was really hoping for that though, but at least the game ended up serving sort of.
Wait, what game? What game? I kind of missed out. It's because we got in a firefight. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'd say it's just in general that Eric Bana is easily the person I always consider as that though, and I really love that highly reserved one though, which is something that both Edward Norton and even Mark Ruffalo sort of ended up going less on the whole like very subdued person though, and instead acted more sociable in those versions. When I just preferred his more closed off version. As far as I can kind of see from that, because it's definitely on the end, though. Well, superheroes in general have always been weird, but this one was more of Ang Lee's sensibilities. And for me, I found it more of enhancing it, but always, though.
Just a matter of taste, right?
The whole
but, anyway, I just hope things work out between Sony and Disney, because And in other...
Again, I'm pretty sure that they will, though.
Yeah, same. It really devastated me when I first heard of it. Well, it bumped me out big time.
I mean, I could certainly understand why. I mean, Spider-Man Homecoming is easily one of my more favorites of the MCU films. And even if I'm not sure where I put Far From Home, I still really liked the movie, though.
Why are you so sure about... why were you so unsure about Far From Home? It's because of the other movies that are just as good?
The movies are really great. It's just that when I first see a movie, I usually can't immediately pinpoint where it's going to be unless it blows me out of the water. So for me, it's usually just a matter of having to compose my thoughts more on it though, because I still really liked it. It's just my only real flaw with it, and it was one that I had with a friend of mine where she said the same thing, which is that it felt like the MJ and Peter Parker romance was too fast for it, or at least didn't have enough proper build-up. It sort of was a kind of implied that she's feeling something for him in Homecoming, and then he's just immediately like, oh, I really like her, when it's like, but you guys kind of just started talking. Even sure if the time gap between and Endgame ends.
It's more about the time gap. I say it's the time gap.
So for me, it just feels, it just still, even for her as well though, for us, it just felt like it was something that needed more build up for it though, before it hit that point. At least that's for me my only big flaw with it, but overall I liked most of the rest of it. Jake Gyllenhaal was easily the person that I was very, you guys sure about that? And he was just freaking amazing in the movie. Obviously, J.K. Simmons coming back as J. Jonah Jameson,
which really made my brother happy. And when I told my brother the news, in a text message, he said, fuck, in all caps. When I tried to press the matter on him, he said that he doesn't care. I think the news devastated him just as much. I think the news devastated him just as much, and he just really didn't want to talk about it. I really don't blame him.
I get it, though. Again, I also love those ones, though, and Homecoming is easily, for me, one of my more loved Marvel movies. Out of any Marvel movie, I've probably seen Homecoming the most, which would probably clock it about 6 times, give or take, maybe a little bit more. So for that, I totally get why people dislike, why people are for that, and even if though the things that's in the Amazon rainforest fossil that's happening, totally I get for that.
Wait, what Amazon? Ow!
Remember the Amazonian rainforest that you've no doubt seen already?
Oh shit! Oh yeah, I have heard it's because the current Brazilian president is fuck all, basically, right?
Oh yeah, because the guy thinks it's fake news that all of it is even happening, also because he's directly supporting it, because he wants to go and get some more extra money from cattle. As well as also to grow, I think, Yeah, because essentially it's for ranching that he's been allowing that, and also it's being reported that a lot of the fires that are there are, while some of them have been natural, many of them were actually man-made fires, so that they could intentionally clear it for ranching. So it's like so fucking scummy though that he would actually cause long-term, possibly permanent damage to the planet, all just so that he can get a little bit of extra money from the people bribing him.
Yeah, I've seen Jennifer Hale's tweet. What a shame.
So it's like, honestly, the fact that he's willing to cause, again, like long-term, possibly even permanent damage to the planet, all just because he wants to make a few extra bucks, is really just
evil.
Like levels of evil that no doubt he's going to be remembered in history for so many years to come.
The championship is no cluster foxtrots in my unit.
So like for that. So, but back to what I was saying, like, yeah, how people doing for that though, and it's really annoying when people are trying to say for people putting on the focus on Spider-Man, when really it's like, I don't know where you're getting this idea that people are putting more, because I'm sort of seeing equal focus on both, because again, you can put multiple efforts on one thing. Attention is not this thing that you apparently can't focus enough of. Okay, take a bit point though. You can have, there is a limit to how much attention you can give to several different things.
Yeah, because we're human after all.
Yes, we are human, so I take that statement back. But even still, people are putting a lot of attention on both, though, and definitely for the Amazon rainforest. Like, there's ever since those news broke up, everyone's talking about it, regardless of what sort of period that they are in from. And so I can hardly say that nobody is, though. Everyone is talking about it. So when I see people saying, like, oh my god, I can't believe that people aren't, like, are you logging into social media? Are you meeting people? Because I see that
we can talk into bubblegum.
For good reason.
We can't do everything, but we can do a lot of things.
I mean, so I think
speaking of Sony,
money, please donate to. I'd say for a bit though, like please, obviously for the people watching the stream, if it's possible for you, go and donate to organizations that are trying to actually reforest the Amazonian rainforest as well as combat the fires. That's sort of just
how about the fires
and just try to do what we can.
And we don't talk about politics that much, but this is unusual.
It's been predicted that. Yeah, because it's unusual, because a lot of it is also man-made fires. Again, because they were from people who are trying to open it so that they can go and create more ranch land. So yeah, it's just been all those things. But as
bad place to pick a farmland, no?
I am taking fire.
Yes, very. But if it was back to the Sony business, yeah, again, though, it's that even though, sure, Spider-Man being in the MCU is something I very much still want to be in, though, again, for Sony, it's not something I can really blame them for, even if I haven't really liked much of their, well, not even just Spider-Man movies, but even much of their movies just in general, aside from Spider-Verse. It seems that Sony's animation is really the main thing that is still pumping out at least solid content there. But even based on that, I still can't find myself, like, blaming them for that decision, because then at that point I may as well ask that they should just bend over to whoever tells them to do something, and again, I can't ask that of anybody. So it's a shit situation, and again, I'm not going to be too hard on them, because I already know there's no way that this is set in stone. There will be constantly negotiations, and even still, Spider-Man was not slated to have at least a movie in the immediate future when Comic-Con was shown. So more likely, at worst, it'll be delayed. But whenever another movie gets made,
but on the bright side, with the thing between Sony and Disney, we can all take solace that it's not as bad as James Gunn, by far.
Yeah, from that one, at least from what I can now see after the situation cleared up, it seems as if Disney quickly realized they were in the wrong about it, but they couldn't really just afford to backtrack so quickly, so they sort of just had to give it time for the whole thing. Sort of wait for all that was going in, and then just reinstate when that was the case. No, the conspiracy theories that Disney planned all of this out, no. Look, people have to understand, even smart people can't manage to do shit like that, though, because I think it goes again because with media, they've like really overestimated as to what a smart person is actually capable of. No, the sort of things like, oh, we planned to announce this whole thing with James Gunn and to do so for publicity because Disney is pretty much the biggest entertainment company in the world. They don't really need.
It's like with the 9/11 truthers. The government is not smart enough, nor has the resources to pull something off like that.
again, it's the sort of thing that because people often want to cling to the answers that end up seeming unconventional. When I was in my teens, trust me, I know that. I was a conspiracy theorist for like about a couple years when I was in my teens. So it's like I get wanting to not feel like the official answers are there, but sort of like with the cynical ones, occasionally the obvious answers really are the actual ones. Occasionally.
Also known as Malcolm's Razor. And I just want to close out on these news because just want to like wrap it up with this news thing and say that I really enjoy.
I always say that skepticism is fine. Always healthy to always be skeptical of answers that are given. But as I always say, do not confuse being skeptical and be sort of like as I was.
Yeah. No, and I was pretty skeptical for Sony's take, like Kevin Feige is too busy. It was like Kevin Feige has done over 20 movies for 10 years. He can afford the time.
And yeah, he's had the best track record as far as consistent hits. Even the biggest ones, as I said, like even someone like Spielberg, who produces and directs so many movies, even he has not had as consistent like smash after smash after smash as Feige did. I mean, at this point, Feige's pretty much been the movie history's probably their best producer ever, considering the amount of returns he's been.
And I'm just really skeptical of Sony. So, and to wrap it all up with this topic before we move on, I just hope for the best. Anyway,
hope for the best as well.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of Sony, Sony has bought Insomniac.
Yeah, I saw that news as well, though. I mean, apparently since they've been Insomniac and Sony have been working for so many years, the developers' reactions was essentially like, "Wow, I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner."
It's like what Respawn and EA, right? Just want to point it out.
Respawn and EA were working for a really long time with each other. So by the time that EA was actually bought them out, it was sort of a wow. I'm surprised it took that long.
Yeah, actually, I think Respawn's first game was Tenfold. They're a pretty new studio run by veterans, but since inception, they've been working together since inception. So, yeah.
Is there any way to break this freaking door?
Finish! Fatality! Ow!
It will definitely be very cool, though. Glad for Insomniac, though, and apparently the guys over there seem very happy with it. So hopefully that ends up going super well.
Yeah.
For them, and I hope to see. So at least as far as Spidey content goes, at least it means that we're definitely going to get another game, though, as a sequel to their widely acclaimed one. So, you know, not all is bad, though, so we still have that.
Woo! Before I was finishing with Pathfinder, and I got experience stuff. And
it's at least good, though, that finally we did have like a universally acclaimed Spider-Man game, which is something that we had not had since Spider-Man 2 on the original PlayStation.
I played that game. I played the shit out of Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. I think it's also on the Xbox.
Yeah, it's like it's honestly really good for Spidey to have a break in the games department. I mean, I haven't played, but I have watched Shattered Dimensions, and I thought it was good, but it's sort of as a lot of people said, and especially I think it was made worse because it was in the shadow of the Batman Arkham games, which were still going on at the time. So that and I think what was the other one? It was Edge of something.
Edge of Time.
Is it Edge of Time? Yeah. Okay, so that was it. So it's sort of like, we're also like in those games, like since the Arkham games were there, so everyone, and even still with the Spidey.
Oh shit! Someone disconnected. That's not good. Somebody disconnected.
Oh well, I think we'll just have to make do without it.
Yeah.
Without them. So
oh boy.
It's just with those things. So
I was not expecting
honestly
that.
Good to see that it's there, and at least though we'll no doubt be getting more games though as that goes on.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
good to see how that
goes. And in stupid news, you probably heard about the little thing between the developers, the Respawn developers, and Reddit.
I read the comment though in question, and I kind of went like, at least looking in context, because of course though people only made the freeloader quote, but forget what he actually says immediately after, as well as all the stuff prior.
Yeah, he was angry. Like, this developer was angry because of it being treated like shit. Because he.
As far as in like recently, I had a friend though where because me and him though we usually check on what YouTube videos we're liking, and from that though. I want to quote from you committed the cardinal sin, you got personal. I'm just like
I couldn't take that seriously.
It sounded like he was watching some B-grade anime, like I think it was like Ronnie said, like some B-grade anime villain, and like you're trying to act like this is the worst thing. I'm like, dude, you're being like so overdramatic over this, especially the Cardinal Sin, when I can promise these guys aren't going to even remember this like 2 years from now.
Or I was like,
So
we're gonna laugh
really
about this from
pathetic.
the.
It's like, dude, I don't usually like saying this because it feels derogatory, but you had a life. Like, come on, there's other things out there.
Oh shit! Ow!
And again, the thing I always anytime I see people bitch about microtransactions, it's always anytime I see the skins they bitch about, it's like, I promise you, if this was free, you would never have given a shit about that skin. I know this because, like, if I were to look, as I always say, if I were to look at any of their profiles, like whether it was from the start of the game all the way to the end, and to see what was the gear that they were carrying, Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, etc., those games which have well over 100 appearances that are already in the base game, they would wear at most maybe somewhere between 10 to 15 skins at a time, and 15 is really pushing it because of how much your character can carry.
I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send you a. You know, Nick Andros. He made a bit of a recorded with the super demonic voice. I'm gonna show you it, and I'm gonna play it here on the stream because
send me that though. I'll watch it after the stream, but yeah.
I really want to play it here. I really want you to listen it at the same time. Alright, you ready?
So, yeah, I'm ready.
Alright.
PR teams and devs,
I'm ready.
well done. You have alienated your player base. You committed the ultimate cardinal sin. You got personal.
I'm crying out loud here.
As a team of professionals trying to make money, got personal. You got personal and decided to insult your player base, calling us asshats and freeloaders. Now, we won't forget. You've set a new tone for the kind of interaction we'll be having with you. It's a cold one.
Oh my god, that shit.
One where there aren't any illusions about the reality of the situation. Previous notions of family are dead. We are mere consumers to you, and that is obvious. You have chosen to bring in a new era of hostility and bitterness. Well done. Great PR.
Family? What the actually forgot about the family bit. You have a family. Where is that said anywhere? Developers say that in regards to each other, but not to their player base.
Beginning ring countdown.
Gee, shit like that, especially the demonic voice to add funniness, this reminds me as to why the culture at large does not take gamer culture seriously. Ever.
Yeah, the demonic voice made it funnier. No doubt about that.
Again, this always reminds me that when I see people who are not really all that engaged in gaming and they see into the ender culture, they always look like people who are just so embarrassed by that. Like, how could you possibly be a part of this? This is why I always say that it feels like from everything I see, gamers are the only people who make the biggest stinker about spending money, but it's not being involved with like, oh man, I wish I had more money so that I could do this or that. Or buy this thing.
Yeah.
No, it's more of just a, oh my god, I only have to pay this. This is why my reaction when I hear that is cry me a river. Oh, boo-hoo. Like, $10 for a skin. If you want to get a shirt that's a real-life shirt that's not made of terrible fabric, that shit costs at least $20. A pair of jeans, assuming you don't want jeans that are going to freaking just destroy yourself on you in a matter of only maybe a few weeks or months, that also costs like at least $30.
Yeah, but
unless you can get it on sale somewhere. So again, like, gamers act like they're being charged like up the ass though for stuff, but it's like $10.
Yeah, there's a simple solution for that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a simple solution for that kind of stuff. Just don't buy it. Duh.
Oh no, that's not enough for them because it's like, oh my god, this is terrible. And again, I would say to any of their faces, I'm like, I promise you, you would not have given a shit about that skin if it was free. I know because from every single, like, if you even look at any walkthrough of any of the biggest, most beloved RPGs, like say, like again, Red Dead Redemption, any of the Fallout or Elder Scrolls games, or any sort of big RPG you can name, and of all the 100+ appearances that exist, these people always wear the same ones. If I were to say for Skyrim, for instance, the person you're going to see wearing is either if they're wearing heavy armor, either just going to be wearing heavy or basic armor, but not many of them end up wearing much dwarven armor much because it just doesn't have as good of stats. And in general, it's just that
shit.
Them, though. And same goes especially for light armor because people are either wearing heavy or light armor and they don't really like to use either, or they don't like to use both. So again, it's just this case of like people just trying to act like they're these victims. And again, it reminds me why people outside of the gamer culture, they do not take games seriously and still see it as children because the people out inside it act like children.
I remember. Oh god, I remember the backlash against Mass Effect 3's original ending and the animation issues
like for that,
Andromeda.
He drove a writer who had nothing to do with it, and she had to leave the games industry because she was actually fearing for her safety.
Yeah,
I mean, and even with Andromeda was a similar bout where you ended up targeting, two female writers. Neither of them were involved with Andromeda,
they're just
and then just going in for that.
She's more of a general animator who wasn't involved with the project. But otherwise,
again, just like as I said in the last stream, all they just saw was BioWare. She works for BioWare, and just assumed that she was working for there, but didn't even pay attention to what fucking branch she was working for.
Yeah. It's really stupid.
I mean, granted, fortunately, those cases were not as bad as Jennifer Heplar's, but they could very easily have been, and the only reason it wasn't is just pure dumb luck.
I haven't found my limit.
And BioWare,
so it's like,
doing their best to not repeat history.
I mean, it's just from all that, though. And again, because gamers act like such freaking children over these things. And also because, just like as a lot of people said with that infamous interview about, about Call of Duty being political, I mean, sure, you could say what Gamer Over 30 said, that maybe that the questioning was very poor, but in general, it feels like a lot of the sentiments that's there. Gamers want all the kudos that comes with art, but none of the baggage that comes with it. They wanted to be able to say about how, oh my god, games, they're just as influential and just as super important as any big movie, TV show, what have you. But yet, anytime that games are looked on with an actual critical lens, they end up just going, oh my god, it's just a game. Why are you taking this so seriously? Even though any big movie that has ever stood the test of time, you will have never found anyone, at least anyone worthy that was defending a movie, never puts that sentiment down. Like, no one looks at something like, say, Scarface, and goes, oh my god, it's just a movie. What are you guys complaining about? I mean, there are idiots who say that, but anyone who's worked their salt
there are idiots who got worked. Yeah, there are idiots who got worked over. Worked over at the final season of Game of Thrones. Got worked over the Last Jedi of Star Wars.
I mean,
sort of thing.
That's why for like Lindsay Ellis, I just had to unfollow her from Twitter, and even just like with those videos came up, just hiding them from my sub feed because they were so freaking annoying.
Yeah, it's like, shut up about Game of Thrones. I don't care. Like, I really don't care much about Game of Thrones, and even I find the backlash against although that I kind of agree with some of the issues of the last season, but the backlash, the backlash is just like, shut up. Now you at
like,
them.
Again though, all of that just reminds me of why I'm glad of the mentality I have, because that'd be such a freaking waste of energy. Like, I could just basically go and hate that, or I could just enjoy I
think I replied to Lindsay Ellis like, what's that? Yeah, you're pretty obsessed with Game of Thrones. I don't know why though.
Like, when conversely, I could put that energy to something I love. Like, I just recently even finished The Boys, like, last week, though, from Amazon. And even when I saw the trailers, I thought it was, like, going to be this terrible show that ended up having nothing original. No, the show's freaking fantastic, and I'm just like with Euphoria, I'm like, when's the second season of this thing coming out? Because I want more of that. It's freaking amazing as a show, and I want to put my energy into something like that, rather than, oh, wow, DC Titans doesn't really look good. I haven't seen it yet, because I don't have DC, the DC Universe.
I had to be fair, the line where Robin says, fuck Batman, in the first trailer, kind of threw me up, and it was like, no thanks, and I just kind of moved on.
Yeah, I could focus on that though. I mean, sure, there were things that bothered me, especially Starfire's outfit, because it's like hooker jacket, stripper boots, and just in general looking like you're just down to fuck any minute now. And it's just like, look, as I've said with other people several times, no, I'm not having that sort of mood because it's not the comics one. I was more than happy to deal with Scarlet Witch not having it because as long as it's just an outfit that at least it's
that echoes her basically an homage, like a version of her that resembles her.
Exactly, echoes the sentiment. I don't mind. Like, say how Scarlet Witch has like the red sort of coat that she wears everywhere. Sure, that's fine with me. I don't need to see her in the leotard just to be happy about
and the
it.
weird mask and the weird helmet mask thing. What the hell is that?
That was more like a crown than a mask.
Oh, Snipe D-Man has joined the Church of Chester Christ. Be sure to pay your tithings.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah,
but,
I think I told you why I came up with the Church of Chester Christ. Have I?
No, you haven't actually.
So I was streaming. For a while I've been streaming Darkest Dungeons. It's like Dungeons and Dragons being called Cthulhu.
Okay.
Where dungeon dwelling. Where dungeon dwelling would even cause insanity. Would even test the stress of the adventurers. And one of the characters is called the Chester, who is kind of like the bard from D&D. And in my little stream thing, the Chester kept on dying. I just kept on including more and more of them. And one of the commentators like, Chester Christ! And the name stuck.
Awesome.
Yeah, you probably should have seen the graveyard filled with like all sort of Chesters. And just
alright, I'll have to go and see that. Yeah, I have started to watch more things as of late. Like now, I'm actually starting to get more into watching shows again, though, which I hadn't done in so many years. But between Euphoria and The Boys, I'm sort of like now just trying to find more stuff to watch, though.
Would you also be interested in Netflix? I would recommend a few shows from there.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe when I get more money, I'll also grab a double with a Netflix subscription as well, if I can manage to get one. Or at least, like, if the money ever permits it, though. Yeah, I'll be thinking of that. I know there's plenty of stuff in there that I would like watching, though.
Stranger Things for one.
I mean, I'd be super late to watching the Daredevil show, which is really a shame, because, at least from what I heard of it, all the stories of it, it sounded fantastic.
Yeah.
And Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin felt like the perfect casting, really.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Yeah, I think my main problem with the Netflix Marvel shows is the pacing of like some of the seasons are about 13 episodes long. Each episode is about an hour long. 13 episodes, each an hour long. Which
yeah, that's kind of the standard that thing that they do for shows now, though, these days.
I know, but sometimes the pacing can be really slow or repetitive. It's like I was like watching the first season of Jessica Jones. That's like, okay, just move along. It's enjoyable. It's really unrelenting still, because by the way, David Tennant as the Purple Man, as Kilgrave. I would have that would probably put his performance as the 10th Doctor in a different light. You know, some of the quirks of the 10th Doctor. I guess so. Yeah,
it just kind of feels a bit of a shame, though, that the stuff from the shows doesn't really ever seem to make its way to the movies. Like, I know that Ghost Rider himself appeared in inside Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I know it's not the Johnny Blaze one. It's a separate guy who also has a Ghost Rider title.
I forgot the guy's name. I forgot the guy's name, but he drives a car instead of a motorcycle.
And it's like, honestly, the MCU feels like it would be good to give him that spotlight, though. I mean, he only had 2 movies, and they were both really bad.
They did manage to bring the actor who played Jarvis in Endgame, from Agent Carter. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, I know about that, but it's just again for other things though, like especially with like how the Daredevil show ended up essentially like redeeming a lot of the stuff from the original movie in people's eyes. I really would like Ghost Rider to have some of that love because because at least I know that for him though he's one of the lesser used Marvel characters. But I mean something like Devil's Bounty Hunter is just really good. But I think it's something that a friend of mine said, which is that he thinks that the MCU really is not wanting to go into territory that involves like the Christian or Judaistic or Islamic gods, and they kind of want to make sure they don't go in that direction or like bring it up if they don't have to.
Neither superhero franchises want to do that either. Just want to point that out.
I'll let you know.
I'll go with you.
I mean, it's just that's just the main thing though. DC is more willing to do that though. Usually for that, but it seems as if for Marvel specifically, they kind of want to make sure they don't sort of stray into that. Whereas DC kind of is just all over that stuff, really. Especially when Jack Kirby, when he ended up putting his fingers on it when he created the New Gods, and so it just kind of went from there.
Though Marvel went to Norse territory. I haven't really heard much from Asian Greece mythology, I think, with Hercules. Or what's their Heracles?
No, he's saying that they're no doubt willing to go with like Greek and Norse gods, and they're willing to depict them. Just only when it comes to involving gods of like the main like trinity of world religions.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that though. Where he thinks that they kind of don't want to for that. Sort of like with Spider-Man when his identity was revealed. That if anything, that if it was going to be, how would they portray Spider-Man ending up trying to, reclaim his identity, assuming that's the plan that they would have gone with. It probably
they would if
more of Doctor Strange, like Doctor Strange or probably something like that. Not that it was Mephisto, like probably not that.
Nice. Oh shit.
Oh, I'm pretty much dead.
I'm sorry. I was being cornered.
No, you're good. I didn't even know that guy.
Sorry, I'm a mustache. I really am sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, it's just things like that though from it, but who knows though, really, as to whether they would.
I'll do what I can to get.
Yeah, I think that.
Oh shit! I only have like silver health left. I have like a sliver of health, but I'll get you. I promise. Oh shit! Good effort. That was a good effort. In other good, some pretty interesting news.
Oh shit! So they actually did get him. I thought it was just the model. Oh, it's just reading a tweet though that Ed Boon said that part of me still can't believe we got Arnold because I did recently see the combat trailer part.
Yeah.
Trailer that they recently released, but I didn't think they would have actually gotten Arnold to do any of the voices because usually when it came to the Terminator games from like the early 2000s, they always got someone who was a sound-alike but not the actual guy.
Did you just say that they're gonna get Arnold Schwarzenegger himself for voice acting?
Yeah, they actually got Arnold to do
not only his face but also his
voice too. He said that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so really it's like, oh, sweet though. Well, I mean, I'm trying to mainly save it for Gears 5 because that's coming out in only like 2 weeks.
Shit,
about
really?
2 weeks. And so
it's coming out now, that was quick.
Yeah, it's coming out like in early September, and so I want to grab that because obviously Jessie Lamb, I want to make sure that she gets to see, obviously to support her and the team of the Coalition, and it's a game that I've been really looking forward to. Gears 4 for me was still really good, but I feel like it was definitely something. It sort of feels like the game that even though you like, you sort of get the feeling that in other spots, mainly narratively, that it could have gone better. But
yeah, like without Halo 5, kind of like the Halo 5.
Halo 5 for me, I didn't really like that much, but for that, I guess if that's how you want to view it, sure. Sort of like that, where it was just very iffy at certain points.
Yeah.
But even still, glad to see that, and it looks like Gears 5 is shaping up to be really good. But hey, I'll be waiting to see when that goes in, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I played every Gears game.
So back to Mortal Kombat 11. So the other guests are Spawn, we already know that, and the Joker.
Yeah, so seeing from that, and it looks like for I wasn't too much a fan of Joker's look in the game, but because I guess I'm so used to how he looks in the Injustice ones. So like the extra weight that he sort of has on him, to where he's more like the juiced up guys in there rather than the more lanky frame that's there. But,
I haven't really
I
noticed
would
his frame.
say-
I did not notice his frame. Like his body.
It
body
came
shape.
out to me though. It's not a big issue. It's just more of a sort of just iffy on there, but still looks good though. Spawn is there though, but I wonder if he's voiced by Keith David or if he's just voiced by someone else though.
Oh, Spawn?
Yeah, Keith David. He's the one who voiced Spawn in
The cartoon. Yeah,
show.
I think I
And-
have that on Amazon. It's on it's on Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. The whole show.
See what I can do if I can get around to seeing it. I heard the cartoon's actually better than the comics is based on. At least the early. Whoa, shit!
Yeah, as far as the comics go, Spawn seems one of those characters who is really more well liked for an actual like off-screen or like extra media appearance than the actual source material that he came from.
I'm curious,
Yeah,
why is
people are
that?
like adoring the show, and like Keith David has said like how Spawn was still one of his most favorite characters. But for Keith David, he still says his most favorite character was Goliath from Gargoyles.
Not surprised. I also remember him for playing as Anderson from. Oh shit!
I only am aware of Gargoyles by reputation, but I've never seen an episode of the show.
Alright, just relax. I got everything under control.
So
Right,
I couldn't really
you.
save its quality, but it's clearly been very
Sindel,
beloved by people.
Sindel, the lady with the blonde hair and really loud voice that like. Think Black Canary from DC with the power of her like super voice.
Reloading.
Oh shit! I hate my buttons.
Just gotta patch myself up. Hang on.
Reloading.
Enemy taken.
Healing my wounds.
We really need some body shields.
They spotted us. I'm taking shots. This time I'm
Rosella got ambushed.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Reloading.
So I definitely have to try to, probably after Gears 5, I'll be trying to see what money I can get though to
Well, Mortal Kombat 11.
do for that, because also another thing I'm saving up for is because I'm taking a friend, taking her dad, her mom, obviously herself, and me into one of the Universal resorts so we can go hang out at Universal for 2 days from there. So I also have to make sure I can save up enough for that. So
Yeah.
a lot of things on my plate.
I don't blame you. I also heard there's going to be a sequel
So
to.
definitely, I'm gonna try my hardest to.
Yeah,
But it'll
there's
just be whatever it is though.
there's a sequel announced for The Matrix, and Keanu Reeves is coming back from if I heard right. Oh, waiting on you, by the way. Just yeah, a Matrix
yeah,
sequel.
sorry
That's kind of cool. Not much is known about it, unfortunately, or at least from what I can find. Any thoughts?
About what exactly?
There's going to be a Matrix sequel, and from if I heard this right, Keanu Reeves is going to be
Yeah,
involved.
from the Wachowski sisters. They're, or at least not to misgender them. It was the sisters, right?
Yes.
I know they're transgender. I just can't remember which one.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a male at birth, and
So yeah, the Wachowski sisters. Okay, I want to make sure I have that right because I know they were originally the brothers, but eventually, now I remember they came out as the sisters though when it was like a better time that they could actually be
Yeah.
exposed for it.
Got this round squared away.
So yeah, I'm saying happy that they're managing to get back into it. I know Keanu Reeves is also signed up with it. As far as me, I wasn't really having the hyper excitement that St. Patrick H. Willems did because I never watched the first Matrix. I'm only aware of them by reputation.
friend.
I know generally what happens in it, and unfortunately, the biggest notorious thing from me is that somehow the people who have that stupid red pill movement somehow got their inspiration from that movie.
yeah,
and
they
when
do.
I read the analysis,
Yeah, although not a fan of MovieBot, but MovieBot pointed out that The Matrix could make a good allegory for transition, transgender because
Except by falling.
sorry, I could.
yeah, that's what has been reported on for like well over a decade. So many articles that say like the movie is effectively one.
And now going for
giant metaphor of what it means to be trans.
for the transgender community.
Yeah, so for the transgender community, The Matrix is like probably the movie that they feel is like the most important.
Yeah,
for their
even
lifestyle.
originally they even came with the character for in the Matrix they were male, but in real life they're female. I'm not sure if I got.
Yeah, so
not sure,
a lot
sure
of symbolism that was there.
Yeah, not
And
sure
it
if
was
it's
like, I
if
think
it's like
that's cool
switched
though
over.
that it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying, and I think it's really cool that they managed to do something like that. Though again, just because like I wasn't like super excited for it, mainly just because I haven't watched it, it kind of feels like for me, sort of like if you were a person who didn't watch Star Wars and then Episode 7 was coming out, it's cool for the people there, but like I just haven't really gotten into it because I just never watched it. But I'll probably try to give it time and try to watch it eventually. But happy for that they're going in there, and it's great to see Keanu Reeves that he's going back to there because he's been like on a career renaissance in the last few years now.
Thanks, especially thanks to John Wick.
Yeah, that movie pretty much just revived his career overnight, pretty much. And then he's just been in like it seems like he's just being in virtually everything that he possibly can.
Grappling.
So definitely, it's just a great thing he's showing there.
And even Kevin Feige tried to get him into a Marvel movie. Unsurprising.
No, I'm sure he'll eventually join up, though. What exactly he'd be is sort of the question. But I'm pretty sure that he'd be more willing to because John seems like the sort of actor who kind of just wants to do everything he can
Keanu
before
Reeves.
he gets too old.
Yeah, you mean Keanu Reeves? John is John Wick.
Yeah, Keanu, yeah.
Except
it kind of feels like he's that sort of person who's like, look, man, I only have one life, and I want to do every single thing I can. I mean, hell, he's now just about to be in a video in Cyberpunk 2077, which nobody thought he was ever going to be in a game ever. I don't even think he was ever in one.
Enter the Matrix, if I remember right.
Was he in that game? I know that there was that, but I didn't know if he actually did any voice acting or anything like that.
I think so. It's been a while. My memory, I
I'll have to look that up. Go and see.
Yeah,
I'll have to look it up and see how that went for it. But if it was though, then fine. This would be like the first time he did one in well over a decade for something like that.
Yeah, that's about right.
So far it would be like, even regardless of whether it's first time or like the first time in like over 10 years for that, it's still something that clearly is just like, again, what I was saying earlier, this guy pretty much wants to do every role or whatever he can before he ends up just becoming too old for this whole thing.
But he's immortal. Oh shit.
I mean, trust me, you want to make sure that you can't you're going to get too old to do that stuff. I mean, that's basically
I was talking about the immortal. I was talking about the immortal thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, like, it sort of makes me think of, like, Hugh Jackman, why he also wanted to get the Wolverine stuff taken care of, because he also was legitimately getting too old to do stuff like that.
Which makes the Logan movie kind of fitting.
Yeah, it makes it very fitting for that, though, because again, though, like, I mean, Hugh Jackman, the guy is rapidly I think he's, like, in his 40s, or maybe he's, like, in early 50s, but, like, yeah, he's just getting a little too old for doing that stuff, and he's gonna have to hang it up eventually, and so he managed to have a fitting end for it.
Yeah.
I just only pity whoever's the person who's gonna take his place.
I pity the fool. To channel
like,
Mr. T.
It seems
right
like
there.
any for that, though. I mean, every Superman actor after Christopher Reeve was always compared to it. Obviously, Andrew Garfield to Tobey Maguire.
And Tom Holland to Tom Holland. Yeah, news about
Tom
the thing.
Holland by that point, he pretty much broke the spell by that point, though. He was pretty much not really much in the comparison outside of when people just do that. Who's the best of them, though? But outside of like those contexts, people pretty much just like him regardless of where on the spectrum he's in. Most of it anyway.
Yeah. I think the news between Sony and Disney is just about as same as I think I
know,
said
but
this.
I'm just like listing off actors from that.
Anyway. Apparently,
I don't really like it whenever people compare the previous actors because it feels very diminishing of the current
and unfair. Wholly unfair.
What? Like, look though, like I even saw the Christopher Reeve Richard Donner movie like a few months ago now, well, several months ago actually by now, and like I watched it, freaking loved it. It was my first time watching it, even though obviously I had like watched plenty of analyses on it, and it was just a really amazing movie. Cherished it, and I think it definitely gets the praise it deserves. But even still, I'm very open-minded to how other people do. Like, I honestly liked Henry Cavill though, honestly, even though it's still up in the air whether he actually is able to be a Superman, because he never commented on it. Warner Brothers never confirmed it in one direction or another, so it's still unclear whether Henry Cavill
about unclear as Spidey's fate in the MCU. Got it.
Similar to that though, although unlike that one though, they're like, even the major studio Warner Brothers never commented on it, and only people got extra suspicious of it because Henry Cavill either was unavailable or uninterested. No one knows when he didn't show up in Shazam.
Actually, speaking of Henry Cavill, what do you think of him as Geralt in Netflix's version of The Witcher?
First blood.
I never really was into The Witcher, so can't say, but he at least has a good idea of the look down though, and at least the costume looks good though.
Yeah,
so
looks a lot better. It looks a lot better than the concept video.
That concept video though.
Oof.
Definitely. So I would say he looks good for that, and I'm imagining if for the reason he didn't appear for the Shazam cameo, I'm guessing that show was probably why, because by the series of events, the show would have been well into production by the time the Shazam was as well. So it was probably he was too busy to actually even go there.
Yeah. And DC, and DC. I remember right. DC also had problems with like finding the right actor for. They had Robert Pattinson for a while, but he had to back out, so they just had as much problems as.
No, Robert Pattinson is still in there though because he's already locked in. But it's just from when yeah, but it's just.
Oh, it's the director. It's the director. Got it. Is that right?
No, it's just the only person that people are trying to think that may end up being different would be nobody knows if Jeremy Irons is still going to end up being the Alfred Pennyworth, but some people apparently there's rumors circulating that he's being recasted as well. So who really knows at this point? It seems like the only older players who will still be around is only Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I've heard that Jason Momoa is like joining in a protest against the construction of a observatory on, I don't know which mountain was it, but it is in Hawaii. People were pretty upset about that
Yes, he's been very active on there though, because it's his home basically. Even though he was born in the States though, like his home state I think was in Idaho. I can't exactly remember. I know he said on his YouTube channel, I'll have to watch. But I know like he was born and I think even raised in the States, but he does still possess a whole bunch of Hawaiian culture in him though. He himself is Polynesian and he has very much endowed himself in the culture for that, so it was very important.
I don't blame him. I absolutely understand.
It. Look, yeah, it's just that for constructing an observatory there, I mean, it just feels like it's unnecessary to do, and we already have the tools necessary to do what it is there. The returns for setting up on a mountain just don't seem worth it.
Yeah, try a less sacred mountain, would you? That's probably a bad joke. Sorry, is that a bad joke?
And also because in general, Hawaiian people have been under the control of America since obviously how that history went out. So it would feel like adding insult to injury by doing that, though, to people who really, at least on legal power, can't really do so besides protest.
Oh, by the way, Shield's level 2 body armor over there. Just want to point it out. I want to get over there before someone yanks it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So it's just things like that.
Yeah.
That are with it though. So as far as it's always seemed unclear as far as that though, and especially because Warner Brothers seems very tight-lipped about how exactly they're doing
things. And back to I think they seem to be pretty tight-lipped until this whole thing gets resolved and goes over.
Left side of this place.
Alright, got a weapon.
It's just that for Cavill, I still want to know if I want just official confirmation if he's out or not, because again, it's like been super quiet on it, and nobody has really said anything in one direction or another.
Yeah.
He hasn't confirmed it on any of his social media. Warner Brothers has not had comment, and also people think it's so because there hasn't been a Man of Steel 2 or any sequels to it. And so far, it seems like after they've been restructuring after the Justice League movie, so it's sort of just all up in the air.
Oh shit!
I mean, keep in mind, we were also by now supposed to also have had a Flash and Cyborg movie, but those ones seems like they're pretty much out of the game at this point.
Yeah, so yeah, still, I appreciate watching Shazam. The DCEU cinematic universe has a lot more issues than what Marvel's going through right now.
Although Marvel certainly had its issues when it started up, I mean, Patty Jenkins getting fired was exactly why Natalie Portman left it in the first place.
No, Natalie Portman, it will be returning for Thor 4, which is nice.
Yeah, so there's that as well, anyway, because obviously Marvel has changed hands, though, since when she was part of it, and so it seems like she's getting more of that. I was surprised when I learned it was Patty Jenkins firing, because usually when I see actors leave, it's either because there was other stuff they were more interested in, bad working conditions, or just an issue of payment.
Oh.
But no, she just
That
left
reminds me, I think Tom Holland even speaks out that he wants Spidey to remain in the MCU, and there might be a possibility that
if he has, he's been pretty quiet over it.
Maybe. Anyway, yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, so apparently Gamescom, there's been a Gamescom this year. Gamescom, and one of the themes for it is Little Nightmares 2.
Oh, there's been bad guys here.
I haven't really kept up with the Gamescom stuff.
Yeah, me
much.
neither.
I think that
it really just
like
quickly came by with me. So
had a day, the so-called the prologue was having a demo that they showed there.
Wait,
I only kept up with that. As
the Marvel Avengers game.
We got bogeys over here.
It looks.
3-1.
Yeah,
They
so
look. The characters look much better than in the teaser.
Don't go there yet.
I would imagine. Look, everything always looks better as it gets more better refined, usually. From that, so that didn't surprise me. So it was only something that I knew of that, and keeping up with the news around Battlefield 2, because the Clone Commandos are showing up in next month, and they managed to show some gameplay of the Clone Commandos in action.
Yep.
Yeah, I've looked over your tweet, and you mentioned one of the people you followed got a little paranoid about Battlefield 2.
Look, as far as Battlefront updates go, I always say this disclaimer. He's easily a great YouTuber. I've watched many of his streams, though. He's just a great guy all around, though. It's just what annoys me is that whenever he talks about, as far as the state of Battlefront 2, though, and as far as like what its future is, like the paranoia frequently annoys me because it's just unfounded. I mean, because as far as it, like, that's why I even said in there, though, like, 2 times he ended up having videos that was called Does Battlefront Have a Future? Which is always a nice question to ask, I guess, if it's not like, if the game's not a super big smash. And his answers in both were always very, the answers could be summed up as possible, but not likely. I mean, even when watching the videos, though, I rewatched just so I could make sure I was clear. He even was, the more further in the future, like he said, like, will we get, like, further to, like September, will we be getting episode 9 content? And the further in the future, like, even episode 9, he was sounding incredibly certain that that was probably not going to go that far, and was instead talking more about what Battlefront as a franchise would go from that. And in both cases, he was wrong, though. He was fairly certain that after 2018, that it was going to, that after the 2018 roadmap, meaning that when Capital Supremacy
come in hot.
No, was Capital Supremacy came out, that he was pretty certain that it was being just cut off of support after that. And yeah, that was proven wrong. After the 2018 roadmap delivered all the content that it showed there, it's gotten substantial content updates. We're still getting even more stuff than ever. And even though Episode 9 is the last bit that's shown there, they've also didn't say it was the last one either, so showing that it's continuing even into 2020. So, really...
Yeah.
So based on all that, it's great that he was wrong. This is the sort of place where...
Yeah, did he admit he was wrong? And did he admit he was wrong?
No, he really hasn't yet, because, look, I get what he's coming from, because I also have the same mentality, which is he wants to keep himself very grounded as to what the state of the game actually is.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to tell himself that the game is, like, doing super amazing and, like, everything's all fine and dandy when it's not. I get that. But the problem
It's
is,
just
as I said in
it's
that
receiving a
post, though,
steady
which is, do
stream
not
of updates.
confuse being. It's like, don't confuse being grounded with being cynical of it. And I feel like this is indicative of the wider trend when it comes to games journalism, because it really only reports on either the really big bombs or the really big smash hits. And because there's really not much coverage, if at all, on games
For the
that
in-betweeners?
do just fine. The in-betweeners, yeah, like the movies that do, or games in this case, that do just fine. They hit their they hit the targets, or at the very least, they're just doing well for themselves, but not making, like, on fast tracking to $1 billion. And because of the fact that for media, that's the only things we get, since Battlefront 2 is obviously not in the Smash category, so like,
but it's a decent hit.
So because of
but,
that,
yeah, in the long run, it's a decent
like,
hit.
In the long run, it's been a decent hit, and he's been like very paranoid over it, feeling like just like any day now, he's just gonna wake up and hear that, like, oh yeah, we're stopping supporting the game, despite like how many of the comments there, such as from the developers, such as the player numbers being as healthy as they were since like the few months after launch.
Something on your mic. You might want hold up until you get your mic fixed. Just want to point that out.
To the same place.
Like things like
You were saying
yeah,
you're
this is
kind of
my-
your mic just kind of went derp.
This is your champion.
It's just
yeah,
kind
no,
of,
that's why I put my mic here. But in general, it's just like things like that though, where like he just feels that though, even though things like the player numbers being reported by the developers as being very healthy, multiple statements that have said that they're far from done with Battlefront 2, and just in general showing that anytime the question of like, well, is the game keeping supported, and they keep saying unequivocally, yes, it is still being supported, we're still making more stuff for it. But even despite all of this, he still has like this paranoia in his head that like it's going to go out any day now. When at this point, if something was going to be like the absolute last content drop, we're at the stage where they would just tell us in advance.
fair enough.
Like the
Kind of like
Bioware
and Anthem.
Yeah, sort of like that though, but not really, because Anthem actually is still receiving support from that though, even if maybe it's not the full support that they were hoping. Like the only instances of a game like abruptly being cut off, like as in not getting support, would be more of cases like Andromeda, where like the financial targets really weren't hitting their marks, and despite so many months of just trying to see if it would work, but ultimately didn't. And so like then that's like when the
I remember when people watched the shit out of Andromeda.
But by that point, it's kind of like you already would have guessed it was not getting the single player content. So it's like when games launch like that, it's sort of just like, yeah, you probably can guess it's not really getting support for that. So it's just like with things like that.
And people complained about Andromeda no longer receiving single player support.
So it's like things like that.
Cue the surprise Pikachu meme. Cue the surprise Pikachu meme.
So
sorry, I couldn't help myself.
It was just sort of things like that. I get it. So it's just in general, it's just like things like that though, where it's like, look, I get it. You want to be grounded. I fully understand. I try to do the same, but like again, the same mistake I made though, like a couple years back, or even hell, just even as recently as last several months even, is that like of confusing being grounded in reality with just being cynical about it. And again, it comes to this where you're trying to think though that, oh no, it's really in danger of dying, when the obvious answer is that it's really not. And trust me, this is the sort of thing where being wrong is actually a good thing. Your worst fears not only did not come to pass, your best hopes are really even being shown up here. But despite that, it's like you're not feeling it's enough. Like you have to be told what's coming in for the next 2 years to not have any immediate concerns about what the future holds. And that's something that no live service game will ever do.
Choke.
Yeah. Oh, speaking
of that, I love what he does as content, and trust me, as far as anyone who reports on Battlefront news, he's pretty much the most reliable source you will ever have on YouTube for that, bar none. So for that,
so basically, he's good. Just ignore the X of the Future videos. Got it.
No, not the future. He's only made 2 of them though, and they were like way months apart though from each other, like almost several months apart from each other. It's just that whenever like he talks in his videos about the news updates, and especially when comments of the future are made, he sounds like really anxious over it, when it feels like it's just unwarranted. Really, like honestly, if I'm ever to start being concerned
have you pointed out to him that for the most part it's all right?
Yeah, I even just said that for it because I just said in a tweet. I'm not even sure if he saw it from that though. I just only put it in there where it's just like for that, like everything's good though for that. But it's just again though, it's just that he is so hard convinced though, and just like again that whole grounded thing is wanting to keep the good answers though. I understand that, but don't think that just because a game is not like being the most on fast tracking to $1 billion has to mean that it's not doing well for itself. As I always say, as a comparison to things like this. You'll understand, Connor. It's like the girl who's actually pretty attractive, but she's super convinced that actually that she's ugly because she's not Scarlett Johansson, essentially.
So basically he's looking for perfection when...
Not so much perfection, like that's not the goal I'm doing with that analogy. It's that he's convinced that because it's not like being the super best, that it has to mean that it's like on the person of the failure. No, it's not.
Contact with hostile.
I just use the Scarlett Johansson because I just feel like it's put it out. Like a really pretty girl, because she's not the absolute prettiest person in the room. Like you don't have to. Like when you were seeing him talk about like, oh, because it's not making as much as Overwatch or PUBG. Like, dude, those are titans of the games industry right now. Those games are racking
like
hundreds of millions of dollars.
It's like how a realistic outcome for David versus Goliath.
I killed an enemy.
I mean, yeah, something like that, though. Like, don't be comparing the big ones, though. I mean, that's like for as an MMORPG, and then just saying, like, well, I'm not selling as much as World of Warcraft, so clearly my game's a failure. Like,
Star Wars, like sort of like Star Wars Old Republic, where BioWare switched up the models thing. So
yeah, when that first year came in, I mean, the game actually got really good reviews. It was getting like solid 7s and 8s from every person in the industry, so it was actually getting very solid reviews. It was just
if I remember right, they were
the
like...
problem was that it was... because during that time, MMOs were still sticking with that monthly subscription thing, which was a requirement at the time. It was rapidly losing numbers. It went down to less than 1 million players before it even had the first year go out. So when they switched to that free-to-play model, it saw a lot of its players come back and managed to gross over $1 billion, and that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of Star Wars, I replied to a tweet of yours about someone saying that, oh, the Empire's not all bad. And I replied,
yeah, as far as
the Empire is based on Nazis. The fucking Nazis. You know, the bad guys from the 20, the like legit official bad guys.
Look, as far as that, I get the general premise as to, because like especially as of recently, a lot of people want to start like seeing essentially the Empire side of it, and essentially wanting to make it seem as if like there was, even though if it was still bad, that it was essentially that there was more to it than that. I always say, look, I get the general premise. Well, I'm dead anyway. I get the general premise as to what exactly it's going for. It wants a lot of fans really just want it to be to where their best sort of because again, I'm not gonna have enough health packs for it. So for that, it's like they want to have more complexity with the stuff, with the media that they end up watching or playing or whatever. I fully understand that desire, but the problem is sort of like when it comes to wanting to be open-minded, it's being so open-minded that you've lost your head at this point.
Yeah. There's no issue with like humanizing the villain. Take a look at like Killmonger from Black Panther. He's humanized. He has some legit weaknesses.
I mean, that's not the same as Star Wars books haven't done that. Like Lost Stars is a great example of a book which actually demonstrated two people who were on the Empire side. One of them ended up leaving for the Rebellion, but the other stayed with the Empire, and ended up showing how this conflict ended up having two people who were just so ideologically different from each other that they ended up just having to fight against each other later.
Which is really heartbreaking. It's like a great example, but the Empire as a whole, they're capital E
or even
evil.
other instances like Battlefront 2's Inferno Squad. I loved that book, and seeing how Aiden and the sort of things that she was willing to do for it. Great storytelling, but it's like, let's not try to lose sight and start thinking, you know, maybe the Empire had some points out.
They blew up the.
Let's not
they
get
blew
crazy.
up Alderaan.
And also, they built a second one, which a second Death Star, and were easily planning on using it. And it was just things like that, though. And that's why I said Legends sort of unintentionally made the Empire somewhat of the good guys, because the books established that apparently Palpatine knew of the Yuuzhan Vongs and the Yuuzhan Vong as far back as the Clone Wars, and because of that, it apparently was in part why he decided to rebuild the Republic into the Empire, and building the Death Stars was in large part because he wanted to have something to fight the Vong when they ended up invading.
That is really
so
stupid.
The books unintentionally, though directly, ended up making the point that the Empire were sort of a good guys.
That is really stupid.
Not intentionally on their part, but yeah, it was just like a bad thing that they ended up doing, though, and that's why you saw the video because it was true. It ended up being that it, in large part, you can effectively argue that the Empire actually was good for the galaxy. Yes, I know, I get it. It's whatever.
Why not pick up yourself?
Effectively having.
Sorry, I had to pick up your stuff just in case.
No, you're good. Just from stuff of that, though. So that's why, like, fortunately, canon doesn't seem like it's going in that direction. And so that's why it's things like that, though. I mean, even for, like, Battlefront 2, though, which I even thought that even if the Imperial side was still a bit iffy, at the same time, I feel like it's actually better that they didn't, because then we could end up going into the category of, like, you know, maybe the Empire wasn't as bad as we make them out to be.
Yeah.
Like, just because of people like Saw Gerrera and his partisans, yes, even if there were extremists there, let's not get carried away and start thinking, like, actually, maybe the Empire wasn't so bad after.
Yeah.
And look, I always get wanting to have a complicated bad guy as well, though, or at least where...
Yeah, there are complicated bad guys in the Star Wars franchise, in both continuities.
Like, to have complicated bad guys. I fully understand the desire for it. It's like, I get it. But again, though, for that, the problem with complicated is that very often, you know, everyone just wanting to make things, though, just more complicated than they really have to be. And again, I feel like the whole desire of, like, I don't want just simple good guy, bad guy dynamics, when it's like, but that's what Star Wars was built off of, though. It was really the simplest story for that, and its simplicity is exactly why it was so amazing. I mean, extra complexity is not bad, but let's not start going into this territory to now we have to essentially start going this thing. I mean, again, you see this in the freaking Batman discourse of, like, actually, Batman's the real bad guy.
He has issues. There's no doubt about that. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of Frank Miller's take on Batman. I tried reading the Dark Knight Strikes.
Like, sure, I
Dark
don't
Knight
deny
Returns.
that Batman clearly has some issues, but quite frankly, every superhero has issues, really. Like, even if it's different versions of it, they still ultimately have, though. Heck, that's even what Spider-Verse went into, where Peter B. Parker, at least based on his introduction, apparently he was devoting too much of his life to the Spider-Man persona that he was sacrificing his Peter Parker one, to the point that it seemed like the Peter Parker version essentially wasn't even existing anymore, causing his marriage to go bad.
Yeah. There, in the recent Spider-Man comics, for a few issues, Spider-Man literally split into two: Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Obviously, there are issues like if he refers to the split versions have to merge back because otherwise they might die. That they will die.
So it was things like that, though, and again, that's where, like, the whole complicated villains thing can occasionally go into that, because then very soon, again, like in the Batman thing, so it's so freaking exhausting. You always have, actually, Batman's the bad guy here, because if he wanted, he could just go and hire every criminal just to go and have him good benefits, when it's like, have you read the source material? Even for the people who have read it who could say this shit, because even a quick glance on it shows no, he can't. Because you don't even know how a business works. You don't just hire people just because there's physically money in the coffers to do it.
Yeah.
Because if your company has one bad year, those people go off of jobs. That's not how companies work.
Yeah.
Look, I certainly get, like, in the cases of, like, Amazon, who's been, like, really skirting on taxes because they are people who are really smart with that crap, when it's like, yeah, I get instances like that, but not every company can really do so. The games industry is even living proof of that. These publishers make billions, and they hire as many people as they can while still being able to maintain a level of profitability.
Yeah, that
Like
whole
if
thing.
EA and Activision hired every single possible person that they could, then you're going to end up running into the trouble of like if you have one year
Logistics.
that's bad,
The list,
you're going
like,
to be laying off
basically
hundreds.
logistics. It's all about the logistics.
Yes.
Oh shit, we got hosties.
Whole bunch of people. Yep.
I never thought I
So
would
it's
get
like
to say
things
the
like
word
that where-
hosties. But there you go.
So it's sort of like that's one of the negative sides of trying to have like even villains that you're trying to make complex, because then you can unintentionally even start making it to where like actually the good guy was the person framed as the good guy is actually the bad person this whole time, and it's like
Yeah,
please,
there are two.
shut up. Just shut
Yeah,
up.
you've probably heard like two like very interconnected tropes on TV tropes. Draco in Leatherpants and Ron the Death Eater.
What about them?
You've heard of these like Ron Draco Draco in Leatherpants. Basically, you're putting the bad guy as the better person than they really are, and in First Go is for Ron the Death Eater.
Okay, I actually wasn't aware of any of that.
And now you know more about TV tropes. Because be careful, it will ruin your life. Because
Yeah, that's sort of good to know.
sorry about that.
Yeah, that's for it though. But anyway, it's just again, yeah, it's just crap like that though for it, and it just like sincerely just annoys the crap out of me, just because of
Yeah,
just,
I hope you
from
like my
all those
reply
things
that I sent. My reply to you on Twitter.
Oh yeah, that one. Like they're Nazis for it though. But yeah, again, a lot of
Space
people
Nazis,
sometimes
like
not actually get the
literally
message.
space Nazis. Boggles the mind sometimes.
So again, it's just like crap like that though. And again, I'm always for unconventional takes, but for me, I'm not going to go into this thing to say like there are no such thing as wrong takes. No, there are such a thing. Like I remember where I was replying to someone where where they were very greatly talking about saying like when it comes to LGBT representation, and saying like how apparently if they don't just come out right out of the gate and just have the first words be something to the effect of "Hi, I'm gay," and apparently it's just forcing people to be gay if they're not just exposed right off the bat. And yeah,
that's not how it works. That's not how these are things not how it works. No, it doesn't.
Like, that's why I said for it that it seems that when it comes to LGBT representation, it seems as if they want something along the lines of Arcade Gannon or Veronica from Fallout New Vegas, where they mention it maybe once or twice, but there's really nothing else to it other than just a brief passing mention of it. And some person was trying to say like, yeah, sure, sure, Arcade wasn't affected by it, but Veronica broke up with her girlfriend though, but that doesn't mean that her sexuality was ever some part of her story. Yeah, she's a bit sad that Christine left, but unlike other people in the wasteland, she seems to have already been over it and tries to say some interpretation of how like, oh, it seems that she's probably just a soul who's actually really tortured but tries to hide it behind the sarcasm. I even told him like, to honestly have that interpretation, you have to have a very distorted view as to what it means to be happy. Look, here's the thing about being happiness. It does not mean, though, that like you're just happy every single bit of the day and nothing from your past can make you ever just sad, even just a little bit. That's a very, very distorted view of what it actually means to be happy. What it actually means, though, is that even despite whatever bad things you may have experienced, you still demonstrate happiness for this. And unlike other characters that do try to hide their sadness, like Arcade Gannon and him never meeting his father, or Raoul not getting over his sister's death, as well as also just feeling useless because of old age, or in fact, even someone like Lily
That's up, we got
very
enemy.
guilty about her grandkids for all of that. And for them, they actually
I honestly thought you went in. Sorry.
No, you're good. The only thing that Veronica has that actually annoys her is the present with the Brotherhood of Steel and their potential demise, because she's done that. But otherwise, she seems to be in the happiest state, and her, along with Rose and Sharon Cassidy, is the only two people where it seems like their problems are rooted entirely in the present, unlike, say, Boone, Arcade, Raoul, Lily, Edie, or even Yeah, or even Edie, actually.
Yeah, I was
where
thinking
it's
about
like their
that.
problems still are something in the past, whereas Rose of Sharon Cassidy and Veronica, their problems are steeped in the present.
Yeah.
So they're people who are content with their lives. So again, to have the sort of thing of like, oh, Veronica probably just hides her sadness, it means you have like a really distorted view of what it means to just be happy, honestly. That it doesn't mean you're happy 100% of the time. Here's the thing my friend said on something like that. If you can find me a person who's happy 100% of the time and never demonstrates some level of sadness, though, like at any point, the person probably has issues.
Yeah. And speaking of
Like
Fallout,
happy most
yeah.
of the time, like 90 or 95% of the time, that's viable. But someone who's happy 100% of the time or doesn't have something that can trigger a sadness effect, yeah, that person probably has
Nothing
issues.
like cold
Yeah.
steel on a hot day.
Oh, speaking of Fallout, there's a recent update that lets players get a raid of 94. So far, it's only for the computer, but the consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox will get them as soon as things work out well with the PC.
Yeah, I saw on that, so I hope.
And I was actually looking forward to trying out the raid because it looks pretty interesting. I want to know what happens to that raid. What happens to that vault? I'm really interested in.
This is awesome. I'm the jump master.
Yeah, so. we'll have to see
Weird
how that
question.
goes on
How
it.
many times have I been the jump master?
This might
Really
be
seems.
the place to land.
Most of the time, studies, I think. I wasn't keeping track, honestly.
Yeah, I
But
really keep
not to
trying
get
to.
off topic,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just only with things like that though. When it comes to it though, where again it sort of comes to general with complexity.
Supply
Yeah,
ship over
it's
there.
usually good, but always be very careful because complexity can also easily go in an
Yeah.
entirely separate
Yeah.
direction.
I've been humanizing a character named Zachary Turner in one of my stories. We're not going that way. We're going that way. We're going that
Yeah,
way.
no, we can't. So
It's probably
yeah,
a good thing
just,
I'm the drop
something
master
like
because
that.
you remember the time where we had to land in a hot zone. Do you
And
remember-
honestly, it feels even just, and also it feels like just standard good guy, bad guy moralism is honestly something that it feels like we should just have though. Like, no, this is just unconditionally wrong though. Like, no, there is no like both sides
The map
crap
says
on
not
this.
all of us are inside
Yeah,
the next
there aren't
room.
any like flying
First
people
blood,
in
and
both
it's not us.
both sides, by the way.
No kill leader.
Hey,
Yeah, shit like that. I mean, it's like essentially the like again that sense.
yeah, you get some specific individuals, but sometimes they just don't define a group. Unless they're a really individual,
Like, yeah, that's-
really individual
Like, I used to
individuals.
be on that
So-
fence sitting thing again, sort of like how Boogie often says that because it seems like he wants to.
Oh,
try to
oh
see, but
god,
eventually the
and Boogie has been pretty manipulated from. Yeah, he's.
Yeah, I know. That's why I recently saw that a video recently, which was even going into that, where apparently he even like went onto some site which is explicitly to be
And so-
a sugar daddy, pretty much. I
Wait.
don't even know about the gas.
Wait, Sugar Daddy, a porn site?
Yeah, there was a website that he apparently went onto, which was the purpose of it was essentially to be a sugar daddy, or at least that's the general premise of the site. He
Do
met
I
a
even
girl
want to
there
know
who
what
was there.
that is exactly? Do I even want to know?
A sugar daddy refers to a guy who essentially like gives a girl like a lot of money and attention, and in exchange, she kind of just gives him what he wants: sex, attention, affection, whatever he desires that way. That's essentially what a sugar daddy.
You tried, and
What a
that's all
sugar
that
daddy,
matters.
a sugar daddy,
Also
briefly
winning.
summarized is.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, there's this girl, like, she's with me, and we know that it's just that she gives me money, but she makes me feel good, either sexually or emotionally, or whatever way I want. And so, like, when she ended up when she ended up talking about a lot of this it was on both YouTube, she deleted it, but because this is the internet, someone synced it and re-uploaded it, where she was talking about, though, where, like, he knew that she was a cam girl. You know what a cam girl is, though, right?
Yep. So basically,
it's like, yeah, she does
stupid
that,
shit,
though.
stupid petty shit with Boogie, right?
No, not that though. It was that like he was always just like, "Oh, you're not there for me. You don't even demonstrate loving me, though." Even and anytime she tried to leave the house so she can go and do like her work, like that was not
The
a
ring
secret
is
to
in
him.
close
But
proximity.
he still was
Less
trying
than
to
1
like
minute.
prevent her from doing that, and so like she broke it off with him. And apparently he had her sign some NDA thing, which is the same thing. Apparently he had his ex-wife do.
Wait.
Which that way
Wow,
then they
that's
would not
just
be
really
talked
shady.
about.
Only 30 seconds left on the clock.
Like,
The
I
ring's
always gave
close.
people the benefit of the doubt, but no, at that line, this isn't about, like, oh, he's just not understanding it. That's just straight malicious intent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that he was abused as a child, but no, you're just being more or less the same piece of shit
Body
your
shield
parents
here.
were.
Level 2.
Oh, tagging a level 2 body
close.
shield. I want to get it
10
quickly
seconds.
before the ring closes in.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
Yeah, it should be pretty easy if you get over there quickly.
Warning. Ring in progress.
Are you okay over there? Why don't we
I
hurry?
can see that the ring's moving on the map.
So yeah,
Body
that's why I
shield
saw
here.
that recent video
Level
on
2.
that though, and especially when I was even just showed even just a brief section of his Twitch clips, which are absolutely nothing like what he demonstrates himself on YouTube, which a lot of people are like, what
Keep
the
eyes
hell
on
is
the
this
new
up
kill
about?
leader. Body shield here. Level 2.
All right, let's
So
get
yeah,
out of
it's
here.
just shit like that though. And especially the amount of people who were just immediately taking Boogie's side though without even thinking for a moment that actually he was acting like a scumbag to the cam girl that he was dating and saying like because they're just trying to ruin his reputation. Look, if you are the honestly squeaky clean soul that you proclaim yourself to be, I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that there wouldn't
yeah.
be that
I
many
don't have.
people who are trying to ruin you.
My thing is it's not exactly squeaky clean either.
Oh no, there's a lot of bad shit from that time. When I was younger, I was a total racist, and there's no justification. Oh, I was young. No, I said lots of racist shit back
Yeah,
then.
we all did stupid
from
things,
that,
but you
I
got
said
better.
plenty. I
You've been
did
doing your
plenty of
best.
sex. There was a lot of things I used to believe, like especially like when I think about it though, when I talk about with friends recently, like the friend zone. Which as I grow older, I'm like, why the fuck did I ever think that that was a legitimate thing to think about?
I said some stupid things either. I said some stupid things too, and did some stupid shit. You probably heard of my.
So for it, like, trust me, I will always be on the record that say my soul was never squeaky clean though. Like, if you go back even a few years ago through my Facebook, like, shit, you would see how much of a different person I was. And
Yeah.
it was not for the better.
I was a different person 10 years ago. I know what that feels like.
So,
I think you'll find
So it's like-
one of my stories with the Zachary Turner character pretty interesting. It was like, what if you
so
never
that's
changed?
why I'm like, for that. So as far as it though, it's like, so for him trying to drum that up though, when I actually listened to the clip that she was making as to like what exactly was going on though with it, it's like, yeah, this honestly sounds way too detailed for someone who's trying to ruin Boogie's life though. And even then, why is it that apparently that both his ex-wife and his and this ex-girlfriend or whatever the fuck that she is then, like, she apparently is trying to go after him, but this didn't happen to Philip DeFranco or any of the Rooster Teeth crew or even to a lot of other prominent YouTubers, but apparently only to you, and as well as also when it comes to cases like Logan Paul or even other figures who have been caught in these things. And somehow, despite this whole thing, like, I'm super squeaky clean, guys, nothing went wrong though, but they're trying to ruin you, which unless they are incredibly evil, not many people really would try to do so.
Yeah.
Oh, and especially because since these are people who have way more influence than them, they already know it's
Lucky
a
us,
losing
we
battle,
are
so
already
even
inside
less
the ring.
reason to go up.
Cover me while I get this, oh fuck, ow, 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 ow.
So it's just like shit like that though, where it's like you are so convinced and trying to do this whole both sides thing. I want to make sure that that I get all the sides in. That you end up just effectively losing your head and just not really conclude things like, you know, that shit is bad. Like I still remember that story of the Twitch streamer, like because his like threw a box at him just so he could get his attention. It wasn't even a
Wait,
wrapper
a box?
box. It was like. Specifically, it was a folded up box. Like it was one that wasn't even like properly folded to hold anything. That little thing, and threw with only just a little bit of force, just so that he could actually go pay attention to his crying daughter. And he like beat the shit out of her off screen though, to where like you could actually hear her crying.
Wait, who? Who was this?
This was not Boogie. It was a different streamer. Like he even got arrested after that was even shown. And so like when Boogie ended up responding to it, was like they should both be thrown in jail. Like sure, what he did was bad, but she shouldn't have thrown the box at him. It was a paper box. There is no way
Half
she
the
could have
squads
actually
remain.
harmed him
Let's
with the
keep
thing.
winning.
Unless your skin and bones are made of like even something more weak than paper, there is no way a thrown box can hurt you. and was insisting they both should have gone to jail because even though he beat the shit out of her, she did throw a box at him. Yeah, to get him to pay attention to his crying daughter.
Jesus
Because he deemed a
Christ.
Fortnite. All just because a Fortnite streamer just decided, I really have to win this game. Dude, your daughter's crying. Fucking go and look after her. And she just threw a pizza box, not a box, it was just a brown box in general, just to go and actually make sure that she's taken care of. Like, it was shit like that where he was trying to play a both sides thing. And it was like, it made me unfollow him on Twitter after that. Because I'm like, no,
a Boogie,
that's
right?
just fucking disgusting.
Yeah, you thought...
Yeah, Boogie, yes.
Jesus Christ. I've heard about that, but I didn't really put much thought to it. And I was disgusted then. And when I heard more about it, Christ.
It was like shit like that though, so it just made me go,
Yeah,
no, I'm not
I
sticking with
remember seeing
though.
that little... Someone put a video like, Boogie... Boogie... Please shut the fuck up. Please
And other shit
shut
that he
the
does, like
fuck
even recently,
up.
like it was either on Twitch or on YouTube, where he put up a video though where it was actually on Twitch, where he was like talking to his streamers and was trying to say like, oh, who cares though if I die in 10 years? I'm gonna have a freaking great 10 years though, for that though, not caring if I die, and somehow thinking that nobody was going to talk about it. Like, I'm honestly at this point not even thinking that's stupidity anymore. Like, you cannot be stupid enough to actually go and think that your actions have no consequences. It's just impossible.
Okay. Wow. Just... I think that's the reason why I follow people, like, Markiplier and stuff. They made a, like, a mistake here and there, but otherwise, they're pretty cool people.
Trust me, I am a person who very much is not the one who wants to ever judge a person for their mistakes. Trust me, I probably, by the time I die, or at the very least when I'm so old I can't even wipe my own ass, I'm pretty sure I will have made virtually every mistake that you probably could, barring things that are like just going to the straight up evil category.
Yeah.
I will make so many mistakes in the future. Many of them will be new ones. Some of them may even be old ones that I just didn't think through on them, though. So
Yeah.
trust me, I do not like judging on mistakes. That being said, there comes a point where your actions for me are things I'm like, no, I'm going to judge you on because that was just a terrible thing that you did.
Yeah.
And I don't care what your backstory is, because again, as I say with it though, tragic backstories can only go so far before I eventually go, look, I'm sorry that ended up happening to you, but what you did was still fucked up, and
Like
you
with
shouldn't have
Killmonger.
done that.
And it's still... I
So,
find
like
it
with
really
that.
weird that people were all like, Killmonger is
it's
right,
just like with
or
Boogie,
Magneto is right.
Like with Boogie, it's like, look, I'm sorry though that your mama ended up abusing you, and I know that you apparently think that your dad deserved a better son than you, though, whatever that looks like. Yeah, that's some heavy shit right there, but that doesn't excuse that you had your wife and your ex-girlfriend sign an NDA just because apparently you don't want them talking about you. That's just really shitty. And honestly, it makes me highly suspect that there's a lot that they won't say because of the threat of said NDA, because NDAs are very serious business. The sort of things you can get in trouble for breaking one are very numerous.
Yeah. Freaking Christ. That's some really heavy stuff.
So it's just that things like that, though, where for me, as I've gotten older, I've started getting my head back into shape, and it's like, no, there are things out there that you just say, no, that is just wrong. Not like, oh, it's wrong, I thought it was right. No, just straight wrong. Not some sort of extra justification over it.
Medkit.
Which again, that's why I can't.
Why I want to get a medkit?
It's why like so many YouTuber apologies end up falling short, because a lot of them can't seem to ever apologize without some sort of, I thought what I did was right on there. No, just say I'm wrong, full stop.
Yeah. Yeah, so
it's like when I watched that video, and it was just that. Though,
I did some
because it
stupid
made it
stuff
so-
recently. Yeah, I did some stupid stuff recently. Got banned from a few Discord channels over stupid shit that I did. Not happy about it. Kind of got upset about it, but I moved on.
Just makes me more disappointed because, like, for Boogie, I really sincerely believed a lot of the stuff that he was saying, that he was just a genuinely good person. But when people were starting to expose more of it, it's like all the stuff that was there, even in the so-called best times of his YouTube days, seems like there really was just nothing more but just a piece of shit that was there.
kind of like Doc Walker and Channel Awesome.
Yeah, more or less though for that. Or it's like people who seemed they were cool though because they were doing good stuff for people.
Yeah,
but
though a lot of
just
people
ends up
actually
just
blame the
being
CEO of kind of Awesome again. I forgot the guy's name, Mike something. Yeah, but oh shit.
Spotted. Double timing it.
The thing is that he really has no one there, and it's even made worse that his friends don't really seem to try to change his behavior. It feels just like FouseyTube in that same sense, though, before his career ended up having like a huge downturn, where his friends, quote-unquote, really just vultures, really, where they ended up just like not really changing his behavior or just trying to stop him from the stupid shit he was doing. They just kept smiling along and just being yes men. It's just really pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I always appreciate that my best friends were always ready to call me on my shit whenever I started going on there.
I also like to keep the same with people I know. Like, hey, don't you think that seems kind of weird? You're acting that way, or that sort of thing. I wouldn't be that type of person.
Like, I still remember, like, 3 years ago when I was saying with my friends, like, oh, I'm thinking of asking this girl out to prom, and he unapologetically just said, no, she won't honestly go with you. Glad he said that, because he was absolutely true. It wouldn't have happened for that, or even where he said, like, dude, like, these issues, you gotta have them sorted out, like, ASAP.
Yeah.
Alright, I think after this stream, I'll probably, or after
this match,
match, I'm probably gonna go hit after stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
After though, because my throat's getting dry in general though. It's getting somewhat late though on it. But yeah, it's just shit like that in general. Where it's just for things like that though, where I always think that a lot of people are, because I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and I like to just believe that they're good unless they demonstrate otherwise, like in that boogie business.
Yeah, most people are decent, flawed, decent people, like what Shepard says in the dialogue choice in the Larry Standard Broken DLC. I mean, it's been a while since I people can be sloppy, selfish, but they can they'll do the right thing at least eventually. I'm just paraphrasing, so when I get to look up that quote, I'll correct myself in the next stream.
I get the sentiment. Like, yeah, that's there though, especially like for me, I don't really ever frame myself as complicated. I mean, like, I kind of feel like I'm the person where what you see on the surface kind of is what you would already get.
Oh shit!
No, you're good, man.
Crap.
Like, even though I believe that there's not really too much to do, like, beyond what you should just see on the surface, but it's like, yeah, I'm also a person who's, like, a pretty complicated human being, and definitely have done my own shit, though, for it. But at the very least, I've always promised to try to do better with
it. Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, still... aside from the Sony Disney thing, and the stupid Apex Legends shit, because good God, I got into a few arguments with a couple of people in the Nuance Gaming, like just one person just...
Again, because that whole thing was so freaking stupid, and it was over just cosmetics.
Yeah, it might be a little expensive. You can like, hey, this might be a little expensive, and it'll be a hard time.
It's not even expensive. Like,
wait,
all you have to end up spending though is only like a few bucks on it though.
I thought it was a little expensive, but
like again,
yeah.
even something like 10 or 20 bucks though. I mean, again, I think that this is exactly why people in other hobbies and outside of gaming don't even take the community of gaming seriously.
Don't forget Star Wars.
They whine like children
Star Wars,
over any bit
comic
of money
books, yeah, gaming, comic books, and
Like I'm saying, like, if a gamer like Jim Sterling were to try to complain about his hobby to anyone that was outside, like people like hobbies that actually require spending money, they would just laugh in his face at the sort of thing he complains about.
Hey, I leveled up to level 60. Nice.
Alright, I think that's gonna have to be my last match though for this one.
It's been a good one. Thank you for I just hope things work out. Like I always repeat,
hope so things work out too.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching this, and I'm Ronnoc. This is Shadowhawk. We're signing out. Have a good night, everybody.
See you guys later. Good night.